Okay, so just to take a little bit of a short break, a little bit from doing a lot of Christian readings, I felt it would be good to just take a step back and just kind of like laugh at him a little bit. Because let's face it, if nothing else, Chris is certainly very interesting, I suppose, as a person. But even more interesting is the notion that Chris is somewhat notorious for his lazy antics. How he will go to great efforts to avoid having to do the things he needs to do. And we know all of these things would eventually come back to haunt him in 2016. But let's go back to a slightly more innocent time. This being late 2010, 14 years ago, probably when this video, to this day in many ways. But just here's the context. Casey wanted Chris to do a whole bunch of videos, and one video in particular, I've got to go and charge my phone. 1 second. One video in particular that Jackie really wanted. Did I say Casey before? I meant to say Jackie, but basically, one video that Jackie wanted Chris to do was to do for Chris to cook up a romantic spaghetti dinner. Sounds quite good in many ways, but what you're about to see is quite the spectacle, if I do say so myself, because I don't really know how Chris managed to do what he does, but somehow he does. And what is it he does, you may ask? Well, let me demonstrate.
For this presentation, I was going to make some spaghetti live in the kitchen. But unfortunately, I don't have access to the stove because Mama put a whole bunch of crap in the way. So, I am going to mime it.
And by the way, yes, I know what you guys are probably thinking to yourself. First of all, my mama put a whole bunch of crap in the way. Well, move it out of the way then. I don't really know this. Guys, just let me give you a little bit of context. I was 12 years old back in 2010. And even if the kitchen was cluttered, it never was, but let's pretend it was. It doesn't take much initiative whatsoever to have just moved some stuff out of the way or put things back in drawers and stuff like that. We heard before about the fact that Chris claims that there's nothing but silverware all in the sink. But are you really trying to tell me Chris doesn't even have access to just moving some stuff around or just putting some stuff in his room for the time being just so he can make space? Because this is just, it's always been a running theme in these sorts of videos that Chris will avoid having to do anything difficult, but what you're about to see next defies almost the power of rational thought as we know it. Because remember, he is going to mime making spaghetti. Mime it.
Here's the pot. Put it on the stove. Set it to the boiling temperature. In time, the water's boiling. So we take this pot of spaghetti noodles, open up the pots, and
some would argue, and might be a little bit upset about the fact that Chris is literally just opening up a packet of spaghetti noodles and that he's not technically, like, making it himself. And I would agree with you. Listen, even I know how to, like, make spaghetti. But that's, again, it's neither here nor there. I'm not going to try and be a food snob in all this. What I am going to be, however, is someone who's just going to say, it gets stranger, what happens next. I mean, Chris isn't technically, I mean, we could argue the nuance, but he didn't bother salting the water. He did, like, literally salt the water. But we'll come back to that.
click, 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 click. Noodles, smells so good. Hey, look at that. Trippy, no stiffy. I offer you some non-stiff trippy.
I offer you some non-stiff drippy. Okay, thanks, Chris.
It's hot right now, so you might want to wait a while. Yeah, I say our noodles are done. Then we drain the water out. We get some plates. Oh, wait a minute. We're serving two. I'm just kidding. We don't want any noodles left behind. We'll rinse that out later. In the meantime, use a good jar of marinara sauce. There we go, I popped the seal. And now, some grated mozzarella. Oh, I gotta pop the seal. And we'll add other spices from my father's collection, which includes rosemary, garlic, parsley, whatever. And you can make your own meatballs with processed meat and putting it on a tray or something, letting it grow, and then rolling it all into balls. But they're not so good, not as good, are they? So why bother with that? Well, you can buy your own meatballs. We had this, but we had.
This is the so this is the part I really have to really draw. This is how pathetic Chris is. Think about that. I'm going to break this down to you. Chris, unable to make a spaghetti and meatball dinner because he can't be bothered to move a whole bunch of stuff in his kitchen out of the way, he is now trying to lecture us by saying that processed store-bought meatballs are better than actually making them by hand. Bear in mind, Chris is not making meatballs by hand from scratch. He is just miming opening up a packet. Let me rephrase this again. Chris is so lazy, he can't even be bothered to mime actually trying to make proper meatballs. I know, that's the... And bear in mind as well, it also, did it not occur to Chris, whatsoever to have bothered to, I don't know, look up at... Because, basically, you've got just... marinara sauce dripped all over spaghetti. What you do, and I've done spaghetti and meatballs many times. What you do is that you actually you get I don't know how many. It's usually I use about 5 pounds of beef and about a 1/4 ounce of lamb. Infuse that with onion salt, crushed garlic, rosemary and thyme. And I'll put some actual chopped onions, ketchup, mustard, and then and a large helping of Worcester sauce, and 3 egg yolks as well. Then you bind it all together. So basically, you can make meatballs, you can make burgers out of this, and basically once you have this all into meatballs, you saute them in a pan. And you cook them with the spaghetti, and then with the sauce. That's what you. And then you grate some hot Parmesan cheese at the end, so that it's still piping hot, and the cheese should melt through and form a beautiful little crust on top of the meatballs. Now, again, I'm not bragging by any stretch of the imagination, but it says a lot about the fact that Chris, I think that's a little bit too far beyond Chris's imagination. When Chris's idea of like is, he mimes just opening up pre-sealed meatballs, and he can't even bother to mime. He thinks that store-bought meatballs are better than making them by hand. I would like to say I'm upset about this, but the chef inside me, I think, is just crying in the corner. And again, I'm not trying to be a snob in all this, but really, Chris, are you trying to tell us that's the best you could come up with? You can't even really fall back on the excuse that his kitchen is clogged up again, because I mentioned, well, move some stuff, Chris. I mean, we all know it's pretty bad at that point, but are you really trying to tell me, like, what's lurking in the kitchen? Like, you know, you should have access to your kitchen. You should have access to your bathroom. You should have access to soap. You should have access to windows, a door, a roof. You know what I mean? There's no reason why you can't reach your kitchen.
This package of Swedish meatballs, cooked in a microwave already, so they're warming up already.
Oh yeah, as well. He's cooking them in a microwave. Literally, nearly 100 years worth of culinary research and discoveries just thrown out the window. It's Chef Mike has taken over.
And in the end, on at least one of the two plates, you get something like this.
I'm just going to say, for the record, that does not look very healthy.
Yummy delicious.
They don't even look like Swedish meatballs either. They just look like Chef Boyardee. That's what it looks like.
So now we can sit down and eat our spaghetti. It is so delicious. It smells so good.
I
You want a
dispute
bite?
that.
Look at this. You want a bite? Very good. You better take a bite, because you know what? What's this? What's this? You watching?
And again, for what they're worth, this is Chris trying to impress a girl by sticking his face into microwave spaghetti and meatballs on a paper plate. What an absolute child. I mean, you know, again, he is literally a child in a 28-year-old man's body.
I'm just kidding. I wouldn't do that to you for real life.
And it's going to be in his hair and everything. Jesus Christ.
That's fun. Hey, at least my head's not fucking orange. Like a certain cashy type person I know.
Yeah, well, whatever you say, Chris, I suppose. That's, you know, you do you and all that. So, I wish there was, to be honest, much more I could say about this, but unfortunately, I kind of don't, I suppose, is the way to put it. Because I don't really know what else I'm really, like, supposed to just add. Because it's distressing. No, actually, no, it's not distressing. But it's kind of really friggin' stupid in some ways. When you remember the idea that, again, Chris was trying to do this to impress somebody. And in return, Chris decided to go through the laziest route he could possibly imagine. I would say I'm supposed to be almost impressed, but the problem is that, well, if I was in Chris's shoes and I decided that, well, I was gonna, like, I don't know, make a spaghetti dinner or something like that, I would have actually just made one. That's it. I mean, why not, I suppose. So, with all that being said and done, I hope all of you guys just enjoyed this, just making fun of him, just because, you know, it was kind of funny to do that because, well, look at it. And I cannot wait to talk with you guys again in the next video. So take care and bye-bye for now.